Right everyone, we're on the eve of a pretty major Celtic match. Tomorrow night here at Celtic Park, Ange Postecoglou's Hoops will have the chance to go top of the Scottish Premiership by beating Rangers, and it's a major opportunity. And we've got a major preview show for you today on 67 Hail Hail. To satisfy your needs, hopefully you won't have to watch that Vice documentary for the 1,000th time.
Are you joking?
Although you probably still will, let's be honest, it's that good. Later on we'll hear from Jackie McNamara, hear his thoughts ahead of the match. We'll also get Scott McDonald's favourite derby memories featuring himself. But it wouldn't be a derby preview without Ryan Fitzsimons, aka Ryan118. I was wondering, where does a 118 come from?
Do you actually want to know the story? Because we've been here all day. I'm just going to, you know what, I'm not even going to explain it. My first ever Celtic game was sat in section 118, right? I'm just going to go with that.
Where's that?
118 is just round there. Just towards it, you know, the Rangers fans would normally be sitting in there, you know what I mean? But obviously, they spat the dummy out, so we have none no more, actually. None
so
at
it should
all.
be Ryan 0.
Ryan 0.
No, at all. It's I'm going to blame the wind. It's incredibly windy here.
Yes.
It's actually quite reminiscent of the last time we played Rangers in a midweek league game and had the chance to go top of the league, the Joe Ledley game.
That's right.
I wonder if it's going to be windy tomorrow as well, but if you notice things going flying, then that's why.
If there's anything going flying, it's probably my hair. This is where I get exposed for the wig.
That's looking good, you're kind of
balding.
A wee skin fade, very nice. The nerves, are they kicking in already, Ryan?
A wee bit, of course, as they always do when it comes to these games. However, I'm really confident, I must admit. I know we sat here, remember we done the last preview, and
we don't mention
we were on the other side and I said the exact same thing, but you know, it's not a derby game without that confidence and without the nerves. It comes kind of 2 in 1, doesn't it? You just have that typical feeling, but look, the weekend was massive for us. We got a big result. They obviously dropped points and it set up what's going to be a feisty one, to say the least.
How many days is it since we last beat Rangers? Have a guess?
Oh Christ, have I put a number on this? Well, it's over 2 years in it, so I'll go 405.
Over 2 year, 405.
Oh, jeez. We done a yash on this. Mama was.
I'll give you another guess.
Right, give me another guess. I was thinking 1 year. 365 times that with a 2 there, innit? So that's what. I was never good at maths. 804.
You're not far away. 788.
No bad. That was no bad. At least the second was better than the first, God's sake.
All joking aside though, it's far too long. How important is it tomorrow that we beat Rangers and end this run?
We need to. I know I don't like to just pile the pressure on and say like, oh, it has to be done, but it's been far too long. No Celtic side should be going that long without beating Rangers, especially after, you know, the dominance we had for so many years. It just feels sort of alien that we've landed ourselves in this position. I know last season was a bit of an anomaly, if you like, and we were in that situation where there was no fans in the ground and football just kind of turned on its head, but we need to get a result, and having a full stadium of Celtic fans, I mean, you can't ask for, you know, a better stage to try and turn around that form and try and right the wrongs of what has been the last 2 years.
Definitely. 788, that's a number. So is 25,000, and that is the number that we are just on the verge of. The big task has been to get to 25k by kick-off tomorrow night, and you know what's happening if we get to 25k?
What is happening?
Giakoumakis hat-trick. It's written in the stars, so I think we're about 200 away at the moment, everyone. So if you click subscribe, you will have made it happen tomorrow night.
I think back, and I don't want to bring up last season, of course, but I think I said something similar about McNamara getting a hat-trick in the first derby of last season. Didn't go well. Did not go well.
But definitely sub. Ryan's way over 30k at this stage, but we're kind of making it to 25, so definitely give us a sub. Let's hear from Jackie McNamara then. Let's get into that. It's worth saying we did record this yesterday, or I did record this yesterday during deadline day, a very busy day for Jackie McNamara, so you may hear his phone vibrating from time to time. We got his thoughts on the derby match and what it's like to be a player in the days leading up to a derby match. Really interesting stuff, but we started with his thoughts on the Dundee United game.
Then Beaton got sent off, and Ange, and I think you've got to give him enormous credit. You know, very similar to what Brendan done. He changed the system. He sacrificed the wider one from his three and put the two young lads up the middle, with Abada and young Doak, and put Jota just in that kind of free roll in behind that. You know, and I thought it was because at that point, psychologically for the rented players, they're like, well, we've got an extra man here, but you know, with the pace I've got through the middle, and you see the goal. We didn't have a lot of height in there between Abada and young Ben Doak challenging for the cross, but Jota puts it in, Ben jumps in with the centre half, and then the boy gets his touch. Abada gets his touch, and he has a cool finish. It's the first time, I think, in the whole match that the striker could have got a touch in the box before he finished it. So it just shows you there that there was more space at that point to do it.
Yeah, there was a comment we got on our YouTube as well. I can't remember who it was, but they made the point that the winning goal was a perfect example of the flexibility in the team. You had Juranovic running up the wing, passing the ball to Jota, who'd been playing on the left, had been moved to the right. Juranovic had been playing on the left, moved to the right, and you had Liel Abada slamming into the net. He'd been playing mainly on the right during the game. So it was just a perfect example of players being able to play different positions for Celtic under Ange. You mentioned Ben Doak there. Interestingly enough, and this may make you feel very, very old, Jackie, so apologies in advance. You'd actually left Celtic by the time Doak was born, which is a very, very scary thought. I tweeted yesterday to say that he was actually born 2 days before that Sean Maloney goal against Rangers in the derby, which is just, again, remarkable. Yeah. Have you heard much about Ben Doak from inside Celtic Park, and what did you make of his debut?
I thought it was excellent. He's, his age, I know my daughter was born just after I left Celtic, my youngest. So Ben's a few months younger than my youngest, so it does make me feel very old.
Sorry about that. I feel old as well, if it's a consolation.
No, but I've seen him playing for Celtic. I've seen him playing for Scotland over in Northern Ireland, and he is exciting. His pace and his power. He's not of extra. He's got something different there. Very exciting. It's scary to think he's 16-year-old, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. But I think it's good for the kid, getting his debut like that and coming on when it's 0-0. Sometimes kids come on when it's they're 3 or 4 goals up and they get their debut, but at that point it's to come on and change the game and try and win it. So it says a lot.
Do you know much about his mentality? Do you think he's got the mentality to be a Celtic player in years to come? It's obviously hard to tell at 16. I
think he's got a good what I've seen so far. I think when he came on at the weekend, he wasn't scared to try anything or get at people. His first thoughts to attack, which we all like to see. But the fact he has that speed and power, it tells you everything.
Yeah. If we move it on to the derby game on Wednesday night, Ange was playing down chat of us going top on Wednesday. He says it's all about who's top after 38 games, which is obviously true. But secretly, he must be saying to the players, what a chance we've got here. A chance to go top of the league much earlier than any of us expected.
Yeah, I think the key word is momentum there as well. Ange just created a great momentum in the team. Even if they're not playing well, even with players missing, as I've said, it's how they've managed to just keep churning, even though it's not been their best, but they have that mentality to keep going, and I think that's the important bit. That the players buy into that, and it would be a great one if they can get the right result Wednesday, just to keep that momentum going, and you've still got all the players to come back as well.
Does it mean much to a player, the chance to go top of the league, or are you still just playing games and you get 3 points up for grabs every week?
No, I think psychologically you want to be top. When you've got that little bit in front and you win, and you win every game, they've got to catch you, and I think that's the beauty of being up there. It doesn't. When you're chasing, you're always looking at their result every weekend after your games there. But when you win, you just know you just need to win. You don't need to keep looking down.
Interesting. What have you made of Rangers recently? Have you seen much of them?
Yeah, I've seen them a few of their games. Yeah, I think there's little changes there, obviously from Stevie Gerrard leaving. Just the way the fullbacks here, I think they're a bit more defensive. Like the two fullbacks, or maybe one fullback goes and another one stays. Whereas before, I think both fullbacks would be going and leave maybe a bit like ourselves at times. Both full-backs can be forward, and it sometimes isolates our two centre-backs. But I think Van Bronckhorst likes to have the three at one time. If the left-back goes forward, then obviously the right-back tucks in. But no, I think it should be an interesting game. It'd be interesting to see what happens between now and then, and what other players come and go, across the city, and what team they field. But it's definitely going to be an exciting game. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. How important do you think it is that we beat Rangers, given that it's been so long? It's been, I think, 6 or 7, maybe even 8 matches since we last did it. Is it important that Celtic, really lay down that marker on Wednesday night, and as well as going top of the league, actually beat Rangers for the first time in 2.5 years?
Yeah, I think that, from my own experience here, when I first came to the club, we dominate games and we'd draw the games or whatever. We couldn't get over the line, and the game was that we beat them. It just gave us that belief and the momentum at that time to go on and win the league. It was an incredible match here, and when Wim Jansen was the manager. So I think it would definitely help Ange and the team just get with that kind of barrier there, and just give you that momentum as we keep talking about.
Yeah, and when it comes to the derby matches nowadays, when you were a player, is there excitement for the games? Is there a fear of things going terribly wrong and getting a really bad result? How did it feel for you as a player in the week leading up to a game?
I think it was worse when I was younger. When you're younger, you would, because every day the build up, and you would be more and more and just keep thinking about it all week. I think when I got older, I could deal with it better, and not think about it. And just,
why was that?
Just because you can't do anything about it 2 days before it or 3 days before it. The talk and the hype. It's you can only do something about it when it's there and when you're playing in it. Even the night before, I wouldn't even think about the night before when I was older, because it can stop you. You're thinking there about scoring a winner or making a mistake, or it just messes with you. So it's maybe being able to cope with that and switch off from it, so you're not thinking about it. It's when you go and prepare in the morning for an early kick-off or a night game, then you get to the stadium, then you're zoned in, then you're in your game mode, and then that's when you think about it there, and your energy's now ready for the game.
Yeah, you used the phrase there, it messes with you. Is it a fixture that genuinely, you can go out and do something daft on the pitch because of who you're playing? Yeah,
I mean, I think you've seen over the years with different players that make their debut there. It's easy to get caught up in it. I've been caught up in it a few times myself. We've been sent off and a couple of punches and different things over the years.
Was that, were you giving the punch or receiving the punch?
No, I was one that punched Mark Catley, quite a famous one
right.
At Celtic Park. I don't actually remember, it's just one of these things.
We'll let you away with it, Jackie. Excellent stuff.
But as I said, I was young at the time, and you just want to win. Just when you're in that environment, that's the beauty of it. You're going to war, and you do everything you can to win these matches, and it is easy to get caught up in it.
I know for a fact Tuesday night I'm going to struggle to sleep, before the game. It's kid before Christmas type thing. Are the players like that as well? Do you struggle to sleep the night before?
Again, I think it'll all be in their minds. When I was younger, it was a factor. My first old firm was 3-3 Ibrox, which was an incredible game to play in. But I did think about that the night before, and wake up with the butterflies and the nerves, and you can use a lot of energy before you get to the stadium. That's the whole point of it. When you get older, you use different mechanisms to just focus a wee bit better.
This is quite an ambitious question I've just thought of, so no worries if you can't think of a good example. But was there any kind of one bit of advice you got from any of the managers in one of these games that sticks with you, that you thought, that's brilliant advice, whether it calmed you down or got you fired up or whatever for the matches?
Yeah, I mean, like the gaffer Tommy Burnley would say about the occasion. You know what I mean? Don't get caught up in the occasion, different things like that. My dad actually, my first Old Firm game, my dad had warned me about Ali McCoist, not to speak to him because he'll put me off my game. And sure enough, he did try and speak to me. He came over and said, "How's your dad, Jackie?" And, you know, that was typical Ali, trying to put you off your concentration. You switch off for a second, and you know the ball could be in your net. You know, just. But my dad did warn me about that the night before, so in fact I didn't get caught out of it.
There was the famous story of Tommy Gravison asking Barry Ferguson where it was good to go out for dinner in Glasgow during the first half of a game at Ibrox. So it clearly goes on, but maybe not on Wednesday night. How different are derby matches under the lights?
I think they are a wee bit different. I do think they are. I actually preferred them during the day. You know, I think that even with the fans as well, I think the fans here, because it's like a long day. It always seems a long day before. A lot of drinking, but for the players' side, it's a long day. You know, normally you get up. It normally be like a lunchtime kick-off, so you get up and have a pre-match at 9:30 in the morning, and try and eat as much as you can to. But again, at that time in the morning, I always found it difficult. You know, to eat hot stuff. You know, some boys would just go and have the same pre-match and stuff like that. But it's that early in the morning, it is a struggle. Whereas the night games is a lot more waiting around, and it can be a long day waiting for the game to start.
What's the kind of dietary plan for an evening game in general? I mean, I dare say it differs from team to team, but would you eat two meals, 3 meals before an evening game?
Yeah, I'd imagine the players, if they're at home, I'd imagine they would, to start with, they'd maybe meet up at lunchtime. They'd have lunch at the hotel, then they'll have their pre-match, maybe, you know, about 4 o'clock, 4:30 or something. They have their pre-match then. At that point, they'll be having pastas and chickens and different things like that they normally have. So, yeah, they would at least have two meals.
Exciting. Right, we'll just, before we go, move on to the team. Who do you think Ange will go for in central midfield? We're going to miss Nir Beaton for this. He's suspended. Is it likely to be James McCarthy? Could it even be Callum McGregor? Is there anything you're hearing at all? Any great words of hope you can bring everyone that Callum McGregor's going to miraculously come back and start on Wednesday night?
I think that's the big question. I think everybody was looking at that at the weekend. You've seen Callum come out with Ange before the game. You know, McCarthy, I honestly, I'm not sure what Ange will do. So it's going to be a very interesting team selection. Would even put Juranovic in there just for the legs. I would have thought maybe Sorrell before, but I don't think Ange is really, you know, in favour of Sorrell. I did think, we spoke about it last week, I did think that's what he would go with Beaton and the two in front of him. So he could go with Juranovic in there, just protecting the four, with the same two in front. And then, you know, Abada, I'm hoping Maeda's back. It'd be a bonus if we can get him back over in time. I think Giakoumakis, I think 3 games in a short space of time, I thought it was a wee bit much for him. You know, don't be too harsh on him. You know, I didn't think he had his best game against Dundee United, but you know, you've got to remember he's been out for a number of weeks and playing three games and so quickly. He's maybe caught up in a little bit. So maybe one that Maeda maybe at least starting in that one through the middle, and again picking Jota. I think that would be a decent side.
Yeah, I think just Hatate and O'Reilly, a lot of kind of focus is going to be put on them. We could do with 2 really good performances. Have you liked what you've seen for both of those players so far? Yeah,
I do. I think you know, I think he's quite calm in possession. You know, he's always looking to create. Again, the first game like at Hearts, you know, he took cramp before just as he was coming off. But I thought he came through the game at the weekend better. He looked stronger already. So again, you're hoping an extra day recovery to Wednesday, get more energy back in his legs again. But yeah, I think that's obviously a problem possession now in the midfield area. You know, with Beaton missing McGregor, that would be a worry, because that's probably one of Rangers' strongest areas is the midfield.
Are you going Wednesday night?
I am, yes. Yep.
Excited?
I am. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I look forward to it. I think it should be a good game. I think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, the both teams set up and how they go about it. But no, again, this is what you want as a player. This, you know, when I'd finished my career, this is the games you miss. These games and European games, that's the ones you want to be involved in, and I'm sure the players will be thinking the same.
So these are the games you want to be involved in, but my question is, will Tom Rogic and Dyson Maeda be involved tomorrow? Now, it's worth remembering before we get on to this what Ange has said last week. He said if they play the day before, it's impossible for them to play on the night against Rangers. Outside chance of seeing Dyson Maeda tomorrow?
There's that slim chance, isn't it? And you know, you're kind of hoping that you might see him involved to some extent. Look, if Desmond gets that private jet out and brings him in, and if he's even on the bench, I think that's a bonus for Celtic, because look, I know it's tough, and you remember Effie Ambrose playing that night against Juventus. I mean, we don't know if we want to exactly recreate that scenario, but I think any sort of availability for him is a boost, and if there's an option there and Ange feels it's right, then absolutely get him involved to some extent, but obviously it's what the manager deems appropriate, you could say. We
joked about him, you know, before the Jackie clip, Giakoumakis.
Yep.
Like, how do we genuinely feel about him starting tomorrow night?
Obviously, if you're being 100% honest, you'd rather have one of the other strikers available. I think you'd rather Furuhashi or you'd rather Maeda, as we've spoke about, but listen, it's a massive opportunity for Giakoumakis, and look, a lot of people have been harsh on him at times, but he's stood up in a couple of games now where he's had to stand up and he's had to make himself available for us, and he's had to score goals, and he's done it. So hopefully it's a game that he can maybe get himself into tomorrow. I imagine he probably will start the game.
Yeah, I think
so you know, he's got different attributes that could really rough up Rangers, I think. So look, it's maybe not ideal, but it's a big opportunity for him. I'm excited.
Potentially him starting ruffling up Goldson and Bassey, and then bringing on the legs of Maeda late on. That's the perfect game plan. So what about Rangers then? Well, as you know, in 67 Hail Hail, we always like to find out about the opposition, get a bit of a scouting report from a fan of the other side. So yesterday I spoke to my Rangers mate William McWilliam, and this is what he had to say. We got you, didn't we? You didn't think we were going to get a Rangers fan on, did you?
You know, there was a part of me there thinking, right, is this a bam up or is that actually somebody's name?
Not a chance we would actually get one of them on the channel. I think Hearts is about the limit we can go to. This is, though, the most likely Rangers side for tomorrow, we believe, just to give you an idea of what we'll be up against there on screen. They're still going to be missing Morelos, Ryan, but seem to think Kemar Roof's the most likely to play up front for them. It could be Fashion Sakala as well. I think that defence is there to be got at, though.
Listen, all season I have been listening to Rangers fans constantly telling us that our defence is dodgy, that they could take advantage of it. I genuinely couldn't look at it another way than saying the exact same thing about Rangers defence. I watched the whole second half of that county game at the weekend, and the lovely Kerrydale suite, which is just a little bit behind us.
What was the reaction like when the equaliser went in?
Oh, it was bedlam.
I saw a video.
Absolute bedlam. Pints were flying. But I was watching that second half, and I'm sitting thinking to myself, right, how are we the ones that have apparently got a dodgy defence here? Look, I'm not going to say that ours is absolutely perfect, but there's reasons that we've conceded the least amount of goals in the league. Joe Hart's kept the most amount of clean sheets in the league. I think the defence is there for the taking. Goldson hasn't lived up to the same sort of expectations that he maybe set at the end of last season, and we can take that.
He's not the same player, and I really think Calvin Bassey.
Big Calvin.
I think he's really
Big
there.
Shirley.
Really, what?
Big Shirley Bassey.
Very good. It's not as good when you have to explain it to an idiot host, but I think Bassey is there to be got at, definitely. He just looks at the moment really short of confidence. I saw him at Pittodrie, and even then when Aberdeen put him under pressure, he takes a chance. He tries to play out, and I don't think he's good enough to play out, and I think that's something we can press. I feel less confident with Giakoumakis than I would with Kyogo or Maida pressing the game. So that's something to watch. But Giakoumakis can still, he's a professional footballer. He can still run and put players under pressure. I really think that's an area that we can exploit tomorrow. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know a lot of Rangers fans have been talking about Bassey this season in a lot of good ways as well. He's came on to a bit of a better game than what maybe his first impressions were. But I agree with you 100%. And you maybe add in as well the physicality of Giakoumakis, using his size, using his strength. Get that used. Use every sort of advantage you have on these guys and make every opportunity possible.
Danger man?
I think the real danger man's probably Aribo, isn't it? He's the one that most people will talk about, coming back from the African Cup of Nations probably earlier than expected for a lot of folk. But
everything goes their way, doesn't it?
Yes, but he's the guy that is arguably their best player. He's one of the top players in this league. He's had a fantastic season thus far. We'll see what happens when he's up against our centre halves.
Proper team.
Let's see. I mean, this is different from. Remember, this is a completely different Celtic side that played at Ibrox back in. Was that August still?
Yeah, the end
of August. It's completely different now. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he fares against a better Celtic side. But he's probably the guy that stands out the most, I'd say.
And who's our guy? Who's the main guy we're going to look to? It's probably a relatively simple question, isn't it?
If you're asking me, I'd be saying Joe Hart, mate, because
Joe Hart going to score the goals in one of these.
Listen, any chance to bum up Joe Hart, I'm going to do it. No, our main guy. It's got to be Jota, hasn't it? It's got to be. And this is a massive opportunity for him.
Let's be honest, he has the potential to terrorise Tavernier.
This is like, if I can say anything about Jota right now, is I'm hoping for one of those vintage derby performances, like Dembele's hat-trick, Edouard's hat-trick, games like that. I want something to just remember and go, remember that Jota derby. I want something like that.
I think it was either Stevie or John in the video last night that we put out. They were saying, I think it was Stevie, imagine Jota early on tears Tavernier apart after a couple of minutes. The buzz the whole stadium's going to get. And to be fair, on the other side as well, Abada against Barisic, I think that's something we can exploit as well. I don't think Barisic is that quick, and I think Abada can get in behind him.
Well, Abada's obviously, we've seen him, he's very, very nippy, very fast.
He's playing well.
But the thing that you said about Jota and Tavernier, I love throwing this anytime you can. Remember a couple of years ago, Tavernier talking about the pressure and how sometimes they can't live up to the pressure. Put the pressure on him early doors.
Yeah, and the atmosphere
get a mistake out of him, get the fans on his back, and suddenly you're looking at a long, long game for James Tavernier.
Favourite derby memory? We'll come back and do predictions just at the end after Scott McDonald. But what's your favourite derby memory here, if you had to pick out one?
If I was to pick out one and one only, it's still got to be, I mean, as much as I want to say my man Musa's hat-trick, I've got to go even way back before that. I've got to go to the Venagura Hesselink.
Really?
It's got to be that for me. I wasn't lucky enough to be at that game. I was still too young to be allowed. But I still remember the living room reaction with my dad when that goal hit the back. That was just absolute insanity. Something that will always live with me. I don't think I'll forget that. And obviously his name stands out above them all, doesn't it? Venagura Hesselink.
That was a special night. That was a league game, and that was a midweek league game, and they seem to be pretty special. We'll be hearing from Scott McDonald actually on that game amongst others in a wee minute. For me, the one that sticks out is the one you mentioned, the 5-1 Dembele game. It's strange because a year later we beat them 5-0 to win the league.
That's right, aye.
And still that 5-1 game, there's something about it that has it above it.
There was so much about that day. It was my first ever derby that I went to, so that's a big part of it for me. But as well, remember they obviously beat us at Hampden a few months before, and then you go into that game, you're like, right, let's show them what it is all about.
And Barton and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And a new Celtic team. That's my number one. So we've gone for some interesting ones there. But what about some memories from the Gordon Strachan days? Let's hear from Scott McDonald there. Take a trip down memory lane with him and his favourite derby moments. He had plenty to choose from, but what is his favourite?
He doesn't pick the penalty, does he?
The game at Ibrox, where you score the only goal in the game, it's in front of your own fans. Big moment within the season. New Year's fixture as well. So going into the new year, I think we were 7 points clear at that time. So, and probably one of the best goals I've ever scored. So, absolutely, memorable and one that I'll never forget. So, but like I said, every single one of them, that you score against, your rivals was special. Even in the run-in the year before that, scoring the 2 goals in the game we won 3-2. That was a great day for me as well. That was my first goals against Rangers, so lifts that little hoodoo as well, which you always want, scoring in those big games. And it was, just great moments. And then scoring in my last ever game for Celtic as well. The 1-1 game at Celtic Park, on a very, very cold day. I remember that.
The snow piled up at the side of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, Lee McCulloch equalised about 2 minutes later to kill that one off. I ended up drawing that game. It was my last ever game, funny enough, for Celtic. I ended up getting a hernia operation a couple of days later, and then by the end of the month, I was off down south.
We'll go through the 3 that really mattered then, the 3 that got us the wins on the day. The one at Ibrox, what the hell were you even thinking? Like trying that with the first touch and shooting, never mind actually pulling it off and putting that into the corner. I mean, what a goal.
Look, again, I think a lot of these things that you do are honed in from training, and the confidence that builds. And then a lot of things that you do are instinctive in the moment. I think Big Sammy got a lovely flick on that day. And look, I think I just knew and I sensed where Broadfoot was. He was the wrong side of me, pretty much. You're always taught centre-back to be on the outside. That's obviously me, and that he was maybe that side or something. I can't see on the camera. It's reversed.
He was out of position.
He was out of position, yeah. And just made I was able to roll him. And honestly, when the ball bounced, though, from when I think it was when I kneed it. I think I kneed it. I chested it and kneed it to manoeuvre it. And when the ball bounced, it was like an eternity for it to it just bounced, and then slowly it just hits it. I think it was when it was on going down the way, and then boom, just perfect. You'll never hit a ball sweeter. Like, it was just the perfect contact, and as soon as it left foot, you knew it was in. So, and then the rest is history, as they say.
Completely daft question I've always wanted to know. What does it feel like when you score a goal like that and 8,000 Celtic fans are going absolutely nuts? I mean, what does that feel like?
Psychotic. Yeah. Your head explodes. Yeah, because it's like, I think everything, actually. I think emotions as well. You get really, really emotional. I think you look back, I think I was almost trying to kiss Sammy.
I don't blame you.
Gorgeous George. Yeah, so... But, pure emotion. I think I gave Rangers fans a little bit as well. I didn't forget them on the way out. But, they're the best. I mean, it's particularly just the setting that day. Like I said, being at that end as well.
Yeah.
And you hit one like that, and then just everything erupts. You can always see people, and they're all falling over. It's just chaos. It's like when you score big games, score big goals rather in big games. It is chaos, mayhem that you see. It's an amazing thing. It's like you're taking an out of body experience in that moment. I think when you look up and you see all that, I think it's just it'd be amazing to get how they do the VR cameras now in those moments, and you see it for what it is. It'd be a really good touch. If they can ever get the technology to be able to see that and what that looks like from a player's perspective.
Yeah, and obviously the goals at Celtic Park and the 3-2 win, I actually didn't know you scored 2 that day because I missed the second one because I'd gone for a pie right before half-time, so I only saw one Scott McDonald goal. You also won a penalty as well that day, and also if we talk about the game before it, because it was 2 games in 10 days or something like that, you obviously laid on the winner for Big Jan in that game as well. So memories from those 2 games?
Yeah, look, I think I took just as much enjoyment out of the game I didn't score when Jan scored, just because I played my part in terms of prior to that, what happened. Obviously, I missed the penalty, and I think I had to shake it off again, feels like an eternity at the time when you miss one because it's 0-0. And at that time, we were chasing Rangers for the league title. We needed to win these games. So, it's like, just blew it. There you go. Another chance. Celtic fans just going to blame me. and you're thinking that for about 5 minutes, and you're feeling sorry for yourself. I think, and just thinking the worst possible things are going to happen if this doesn't turn around, if we don't get a result tonight. But then you finally sort of just shake it off. Thankfully, we had enough time in the game, and it was just that one moment, wasn't there, that was left. And again, it's all about timing. And I think I remember one of the boys, I think Kevin Thompson, telling me that when we were down at Middlesbrough, we talk about the games. You talk about different games, and talk about when they beat you, and talk about when you beat them. And was talking about Whittaker getting absolutely bollocked by Walter Smith after that game for allowing the smallest guy in the park to rise above him, to get the header. But again, I wouldn't be too hard on him. It was just a case of I knew how to use my body well in those moments before it came to be able to get above people. And I probably scored a lot. I did really well in the air at Celtic because I had extra belief in terms of the people around me and whatnot. But that game itself is really special to me because, again, we showed a level of character to keep going. We didn't give up. And I think that summed up really nicely that whole season, in terms of from where we started at the beginning, even getting into the Champions League and how we progressed through the Champions League phases, last-minute goals against Shakhtar, last-minute goals against Milan. There was games where we scored last-minute goals. I think Nakamura scored a last-minute winner at St. Mirren at Love Street as well. There was just last-minute goals left, right and centre. And we just had that knack about us that year where we would just keep going. It's going to come. Sure enough, come. And again, when you look at the title race and what it was and where we were, it just showed. And then everything else we went through emotionally that year as well, with the loss of Tommy and whatnot. So, it was unbelievable. And you talk about the game after that, it was the 2 goals I scored. See, one of them, if there was VAR, would have been chopped off.
Were you offside? Yeah. Big Jan, wasn't it?
When you look back at it, I was offside. But
you enjoyed that one running past the Rangers fans, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, again, you don't miss them when you score them if you're there. Yeah, absolutely. But you have an out of body experience in those moments when you celebrate. It's almost like you want to fight someone because you're just that hype. It's just like, get up them, But I think in my second one, it was sort of like Big Mick came across to me and ended up pushing him away. But it was just like, it was more a push of like Incredible Hulk by that point. Not because we were having an argument. I think people come back to me after that game and went, what was the thing with me? I said, absolutely nothing. Just hyped, just lost it. And that's what these moments do. They're just everything. It's brilliant.
Good stuff. So a big thanks to Scott McDonald and Jackie McNamara, who was on earlier there. Now, the big moment of truth, Ryan, how's the game going to go?
Look, I think it's the cliche, isn't it? You never know what to expect. You really don't. But I'm hoping that it is Celtic going out and doing what they do best under Ange Postecoglou. We press the game, we attack the game, and ultimately we're just a more entertaining and better side. I think that if we can try and, as we spoke about, put the pressure on them early doors, and we could be in for an exciting one. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, I think obviously starting with that intensity and hopefully they're not able to deal with it. I'm just concerned, not to bring the mood down, but I'm concerned about, fitness levels and also options off the bench to change the game. I think that's why having someone like Maida on the bench would be a massive option. Yeah. James Forrest, as much as he's been poor lately, I think would be another good option to have off the bench. I'm just worried about that midfield and those options there. I think Hatate and O'Reilly are class players and they look great, but if they both tire, and if McCarthy maybe tires, he hasn't played a lot of football, I'd be a little bit concerned about the lack of options to come on and change the midfield.
Who are the options?
Well, you would have Sorrow on the bench.
Oh, Sorrow, that's right, of course.
And
Fiver on the yellow card.
Yeah, and that's kind of it, and that's what I'm getting at. I think it's That's the one part of the game that I'm struggling with a little bit, and I think that's why it's really important that we get ahead in the game early tomorrow, really get an early goal. It would, obviously, the place is going to be jumping anyway, but it would just increase the atmosphere even more. But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be an absolute cracker. We will have a reaction tomorrow night for you. It's just going to be basically on the phone rather than with the whole camera and all that kind of thing, just with it being a midweek game. David is going to join me for that. Remember to give us a sub as we try and go for 25k. A big thanks to Ryan for joining us on the channel. I think we're going to do a bit of stuff in your channel as well.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on here once again. Looking forward to filming in the cold once more.
It's been a pleasure. The wind has been relentless, and hopefully that's a sign of things to come for Celtic tomorrow. Take care everyone, and hail hail.